Hey, friends, welcome to the Next Best Thing podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Cline-Thomas. I'm here to help you live the life that you design instead of choosing a life you think you have to settle for. Let these conversations be your guide. Now, this is coming out later than usual. Apologies. I blame it on Beyonce. Okay. All right. Last night, I went to her concert at MetLife Stadium, my first ever Beyonce concert. I am not a card carrying member of the Beyhive, but I really truly love and respect her artistry. Her music is a soundtrack of my life. Um, I don't do costumes or themes. Like, invite me to a theme party, and if it takes too much effort, I'll probably stay home. Like, I'm that person, or I'm coming in whatever I feel comfortable with, and don't ask me why I'm not on theme, right? But when in Cowboy Carter, you do the Cowboy Carter thing. So I did what I could in the frame of my energy. Got a little hat from Amazon, got a little kerchief, wore a white tee and some jeans and some boots. Okay. Regular boots, not cowboy boots. I'm not buying cowboy boots. And had the most amazing time. It was actually sensory overload, is what I kept saying, because I just couldn't. It was kind of overwhelming. But even though I'm not a part of the Beehive, I think because I have like a 10,000 foot view, and I'm not as like, it's an admiration and it's not infatuation, no shade. But because I see Beyonce as a person, an artist, a legend, I am just obsessed with, how does she make this happen? How does this work? What is going through her head? Um, when I was at MetLife, I was just like, how does this chick dream? Like, are her dreams this vivid? Because that would be scary to a lot of people. Like, I kept on asking myself, how does this chick dream? What is that like for her? Um, because it's just incredible. And how do you be incredible, like in the fullness of your gift, consistently at a high level? How are you not knocked off your own rocker? How do you not psych yourself out? How do you get buy-in when you're taking so many creative chances? Because she's so excellent, we can't minimize how hard it is to be that excellent. So I admire her, and I study her. She is like a case study for me. So after I saw the Renaissance movie, then I was like, okay, well, whatever she does, I have to have this experience. I have to have a concert experience. So this episode is just a freestyle. Like, literally last night on the train, and then when I was like in bed before I could go to sleep, because it's still very much processing, I just wrote some things down that I was like, I just need to get this out. I just want to say some things about this, because I really tried to study great people, um, because they are people, and they're not different than us. They have different resources now, but they didn't always, a lot of them. And so I like to study folks and figure out, what are the systems they have in place? What's the mindset they have that allows them to do this? Because ultimately, she is serving us with such a gift. Like, it is such a gift. Um, it's a gift to the world, seeing how it impacts people. Extraordinary. I don't have enough adjectives. It's extraordinary. Before we get started, though, I want to shout out Sashika. So Sashika sat 2 seats away from me, and when she came into the row, I was looking at her, because I didn't know she needed to cross in front of me. And then she was like, stuck her head out, and she was like, "You have a podcast?" I was like, "Oh my God." So she is a podcast listener and podcast watcher. We had a good time last night. And she asked me, she's like, "Do people say this to you often?" I said, "No. But every time it does happen, it's when I need it, because this is really, really hard." When I started the podcast, I did not have very many things going on. And now I have a lot going on. So it's very much of a juggle. But every time I'm shown love because of this work here on this podcast, you all don't even understand how much it's gas in my tank. It is so fulfilling for me. And so I really deeply appreciate it. So, Sashika, thank you, girl, for it. I'm so happy to that you've invited me to be a part of your journey. And I hope we can continue rocking together for sure. All right, let's dive in. Okay, my notes are a little jumbled, so just go ahead and bear with me. We are freestyling this because this episode's already late. I'm going to hit an in point, out point, post it. Okay, that's how we're rolling. Okay, um, no edits. All right. So, first thing, she sees everything, but doesn't feel the need to address everything. So, why this stands out to me is because, like, in these internet streets and these social media streets, they're like thinking that everybody needs to be a civil rights activist and call everything out all the time and just have this drumbeat. Beyonce makes very bold statements about America, about the state of America, a reclamation of America is what she's calling it. I remember going into the stadium, a thought I had was, I've never seen so many Black people dressed in an American flag, and that alone is such resistance. The layers to that. And so it reminded me of what Octavia Rahim said the day after the election last year. And she reminded me of um, to essentially be clear of your work. And how I've modified that is there a lot wrong right now? Yes. What is my job to fix? Not everything is like one thing. Like, what is my lane in the chaos? And Beyonce has perfected her lane in the chaos. She doesn't need to be about everything. And guess what? Her resistance and her joy have space together. She says what she needs to say, and then she goes and has a good time. And I love that for her, and I would love that for us as well. She says, take what you want from it, lie on her if you will. She said what she said, and she's already moved on. And so, in that vein, she shares it in her own lane of expression. So, social media. So, I'm learning so much about marketing, right? And then they're like, okay, this algorithm does this, and this social media algorithm does that. And you need to show up in this way over here, and then show up in this way over there. And it's very difficult for me because I am a complete nerd. I like to talk. I just like to talk. I'm not going to dance. I don't even really I don't like to take solo pictures. Because when I do, it's always super awkward. Kind of just taking posy pictures for me is really awkward anyway. I don't actually enjoy it. And so it's hard to show up in these places because I'm not going to actually get traction. So you're doing all this work to show up in these places. You're finding the right music, and then, you got to figure out the caption. And then I don't know if the hashtags matter now or if they don't matter. But I appreciate that Beyonce has, leaned into, she is the algorithm. She is a solo algorithm, and it's incredible to watch. But she wasn't always this way. At first, when she came, she leaned into the system, and then she leveraged the system to create her own and to create her own algorithm. So I'm just reminded about that. And it reminds me of something that my dad said before I got my first, like when I was about to leave home for my first news job. He said, work so hard that they need you more than you need them. And that's what I felt like Beyonce has done. She kind of leaned in to the system as much as she needed to, not too much, still following her instincts because they wanted to release different music, which she knew her songs were a hit, and the record company wasn't always vibing with it. She leaned in just enough until she didn't need them anymore, and she became her own algorithm. So that was another reminder that I had. Probably the most beautiful thing was that there is room for everyone. And in a time when, we're trying to erase people, literally plucking people off the streets, plucking people off the streets, severing families, saying you belong and you don't belong. This was a place where everybody belonged. I saw every type of human imaginable at this concert. Every single type. I was sitting next to a little girl. It was her birthday, and she couldn't have been more than 7 or 8. Her mom drove up from Raleigh, North Carolina that morning, and poor thing was having a hard time hanging at the end. But it's just incredible. It was incredible. And so just don't buy into, if you listen to this, you probably don't. But maybe you do. Maybe you don't in the most egregious, in the ways you've deemed the most egregious, but maybe there are some people who you think less of or should not be able to express themselves, and the demonstration of their humanity rubs you the wrong way because you don't understand it. And this was just that there is room for everyone, and it was so wonderful to see. It was really a balm in the midst of such chaos right now. Can we talk about our niece Blue? Okay. For the last tour, I did this video on social talking about what Blue Ivy can teach us, about trying and showing up. And even when people are hating on you, that you continue to try and that you show progress. And then we see Blue Ivy, who has her own catwalk moments, right? Just flipping her hair, flipping her braids, as beautiful as can be, in the fullness of her confidence. And just seeing a Black girl know she's that girl is everything. But I say that not just in a celebration of Blue, but in a sense of, why don't you get started? Like, why? Because you want everything to be perfect? You don't want to start as a beginner. You don't want to fail in public. You don't want to, show your progress in public. You want to just do everything in private. You want to stay in your head. But you want the glory of the progress. And I'm just here to remind you, as adults, being a child, that childlike quality is so beautiful, because you will take risks because you don't even really fully understand the world yet. Although for her, what she's doing would scare anybody, being on these stages with thousands upon thousands of people screaming your name. Like, that's just a lot. And she's handling it so well. But I just really want to understand, like, the evolution of Blue Ivy and what all of us can learn from this child, right? Is that you have to start somewhere, and that you will be criticized. Doesn't matter. You will be criticized, but you have to put in the work. Blue has legendary parents. She still needs to go to dance class. So sometimes we qualify people's success because of their pedigree, and don't, as a way to not acknowledge the work that was required for them to get there, as a way to make us feel better for not being where we want to be, as a way for us not to acknowledge that we're actually not doing the work necessary or taking the risks necessary to be that person. And so then it keeps us comfortable on the sidelines. You see how that works or doesn't work? So she's just a reminder that you just have to start. You got to start ugly. You got to start, doing things not right. You got to start slow. And that effort is cumulative. Success is not that one big decision. It is these small decisions over time that accumulate and create progress. And so that's why Jay-Z's quote, that I just always remind myself, is that he says that, the reason why he did so well is just among the people he was around, he was just the one who didn't stop. He just kept going. And it sounds simple, but so many people quit prematurely. So don't let that be you, or don't even start in the first place and then blame everybody else for the success that they don't have because they did not do the work. And I do want to say something else about this. And this is might rub people the wrong way, especially when you get into your 40s. There are a lot of things that are out of our control, but sometimes the life that you're and especially in this time right now, I want to say this. Sometimes the discontent that you have is not solely external. It's because you made poor decisions, and you continuously make poor decisions. And the lack of accountability for your poor decisions. I mean, this is why we have a culture that blames others to say, oh, they're taking our jobs, or no, they just showed up for work and you didn't. And sometimes we have to recognize that the life that we don't like that we have is because we're not willing to do what's necessary to have the life that we like. And at some point, your actions or inaction is on display, and it's reflected in the life that you have. And it's a hard thing to hear, but we need to have some personal accountability, and everything is not everybody else's fault. All right, I'm gonna move on. Beyonce honors the past. She's a student of eras, genres, and influence. She is a history buff, to put it plainly. She sang just like R&B, country. She rapped. Sometimes it was like operatic. Just all these different genres, right? But she's a student. She is a student of the past. And sometimes, folks are trying to throw the past away, but you have to be a student first. You really have to. You can't just go in the game and people are like, oh my God, you can sing so well. Like, yes. And she moves culture because she is a student of history. We have a lot of people who sing well, but they don't move culture. They sing well and they have great songwriters and they have great lyrics, but they don't actually make statements through their art, through their area of expertise. And so that's why it's so scary how history is being erased and people don't have an insatiable appetite to go figure it out with all these free resources that we have. You are not the first of its kind, right? You are not the first of its kind. The journalism taught me that one person was having an experience. They were just a microcosm of a bigger issue. Your issue is never singular. And so for me, when I have a question, when I didn't know how to transition, when I was like, okay, I'm ready to put some real elbow grease into this idea, I didn't just go out in the world and just like figure it out and stay in a cocoon. I called my professor who I interviewed here. I called Dr. Rock. She was my first like real phone call to be like, all right, how do I do this? Because she had done it successfully. Why would I start on my own? Why would I try to reinvent the wheel and make all the mistakes that somebody else had made? JC Hayward was an anchor, a Black female anchor in DC at WSA, Channel 9, the CBS station. And I had a chance to meet her. She came to my mother's church. And if anybody knows my mom is going to find a way, right, to help. My mom made her way up there and said, my daughter wants to be a journalist. Can she talk to you? And JC was so gracious and said, I think she gave her number, and then we scheduled a time. So I was so nervous so I could go talk to her. I mean, she was a beautiful Black woman. She was always known for her hair because you never knew what her hair was going to look like on air. Some days she had a curly wig. Some days it'd be straight. Some days it'd be long to her shoulders. Some days it'd be a little shorter. Like you just never knew. Her makeup was always, she was just her face was always just beat, extra long lashes, like she was glam. And she told me that she would get advice and write it down. She would do her stories and then go get critiques and write it down. And that she was okay with making the mistake once, but she never wanted to make the same mistake twice. She wanted to learn from her mistakes and keep moving forward. And I had to have been maybe in the 10th or 11th grade when I met her. And that was the one thing that stuck with me. It's just that other people have been where you want to go, or they've been to a point, they can carry you to a point. So then you can take the baton and keep moving forward. But if you never seek the counsel, never understand your history, you don't know who you are, you don't know where you come from and the context of a greater community, how can you go anywhere? How can you go anywhere? You're not reading, you're not seeking, you're not going to talks, you're not doing any, like, how can you go anywhere? You just want to wait and say, okay, well, when I'm ready to do it big, I'll do my big one and then I'll just do it. It doesn't work that way. And so Beyonce has so many influences, and that's why, like, the Renaissance tour, the ballroom culture, and she incorporates it. She didn't create that. She didn't, but she created a stage for it and then incorporated it into her music to introduce it to people and generations that might not know that story. So I just love that. We're almost done. She gives you an in-person experience. It's one thing back in the day when there were music videos, that's one thing, right? So you see how the artist is interpreting the music. Going to the Renaissance film was something, seeing the behind the scenes. It's very curated. Watching Beyonce Bowl or Coachella performance online. But I did not know how the in-person experience, especially even seeing it on social media, seeing so many of the moments on social media before going, which again, I wish people would just keep some of the love to themselves, right? Like, just let other people experience it. Let's not spoil it. But it wasn't spoiled fully because there's just nothing like the in-person experience. So it made me say, what is your in-person experience? People are listening to the podcast, they're watching the podcast. They might watch other podcasts that I'm on where I'm a guest on theirs, but am I giving folks an in-person experience? And what should that be? Like, what is it where you feel like it's your fingerprint? And I'm really thinking about that because I'm thinking I'm doing some more stuff in person now, giving talks and all of that. And I'm really trying to hone in on what is my in-person experience that is like my fingerprint, where people leave better than they arrived. What is that feeling? What does that look like? How can I execute it? What should that, these are all the things that I'm thinking about. So yes, are you giving an in-person experience? Do people like to be around you? Are they happy when you leave? Oh, you got to go. Okay. And the last thing is that she creates these just amazing albums, amazing experiences, and then she goes away. Working in TV, I work with a lot of people who being on TV is a crux of their identity. And they will do anything to be on TV, and they will do anything to constantly be relevant. And so they're running around here trying to get in every picture and do everything, and diva behavior and all of that. Diva behavior that's not earned. That's what I'm talking about. Diva behavior that's not earned. Got stories. And they always want to be seen. Beyonce creates, like, boom, it's like a bomb drops. She creates this amazing thing. She creates these amazing live experiences, and then she goes away for a minute. And what I'm learning is that it's hard to create and then be on all at the same time. Like something is going to um, get diluted. It's just not gonna be able to happen all there's a time for the planning, there's a time for the sitting, there's a time for the resting, there's a time for the researching and learning and coming up with ideas. um and then there's a time to execute and share your ideas. And in that space and in that vein, we're gonna pause this podcast until after July 4th, where I feel like I am not giving in terms, I'm just not giving all that I can give because I'm trying to do all the things at the same time. And it doesn't make any sense. And I don't know where I created the rule that I needed to do 52 episodes or do 40 episodes a year. I did 40 last year. It's a hell of a lot of content. And as I said, thankfully, you guys have been on my journey. So I have so much more going on. I'm traveling a lot. And so in this time, though, it's not about taking off from the podcast. I'm actually recording episodes, but I need to get ahead. I want to present them in different ways. I just need to think, right? I just need to take time and upgrade because I don't want to do the same things the same way forever. Like that's stale and stagnant. It gets boring. And so I'm taking a class with this marketing specialist guru, really. I'm so excited. I'm so hype about it. I start next week. I'm like, teach me, gather me. And right now is the part of my life where I'm getting a lot of things together. I'm getting my money together. I'm just getting things together, and I'm in a transition in my business, and I have a coach for that too. So I'm getting a lot of help. I'm like doing all the things, but I'm in a transition where if I want to get to the next level in my business, I have to start implementing different things. I got to take some new risks financially. Um, and so this podcast will remain, but I want to make sure that I'm not giving you my leftovers. I want to make sure that I have the capacity to show up the way this space deserves, because we are talking about our lives, which is really important. And I think that I need to, I think I've been doing fine, but I think we can do a little bit better. And so I need to create the systems to do better. And so I'm just going to be taking off. I don't have a date plan, but it'll be after July 4th, which will actually be my third anniversary. We'll come back probably with a we'll come back probably with an episode about my third anniversary of leaving my job. My life is totally different. Totally different. It's wild. It is wild what can happen in such a short amount of time. But that's where we are. And if you have not seen Cowboy Carter, like I had limits, okay? I wasn't going to like pay my rent for a concert ticket. I wasn't doing that. I had really great seats. And spent $380 on the ticket. I'd say go day of if she's coming to your town sooner than later. If you can't find anything online, I actually would love to see her again. I get it now. I get it, y'all. I don't know if I'm a member of the Beyhive, but I get it. I will see her every single time she has something, forever and ever and ever. I will do it. I might not always be on theme. I might not always dress up the way y'all dress up, but I will be in the building. So I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. My Beyonce experience is A plus 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 plus. as expected, but it's different when somebody else tells you about it and then when you experience it on your own. So I hope that you take care of yourself. I hope that you center yourself, and I hope that together we can continue leveling up. I can't wait. So much good stuff is in store. I can't wait to share more with you. So we're just going to take a pause. The newsletter is still going to be coming out every Monday. And the community, the doors have opened. Oh my God, I almost forgot to talk about this. The doors have opened for the community. And so if you're interested, on Monday, it's going to open to the general public. Right now, it's just the wait list. Monday, the general public will be open. It will be open for a week. Please join, because what's the point of doing this by yourself? That's just silly. That's just silly. We got good people, and we've got really great people are making progress. It is, and that's another reason why I just like, let me just pause here, because I'm serving in a lot of different ways, and they all feel like warm and fuzzy and good. And I just want to make sure I can show up for the community in a specific way. I want to make sure that I can show up for this podcast. I want to make sure I can show up for my clients. I'm excited about the future, and I just would love to join your squad more personally so we can navigate this together. But God is really, really showing out, and I am so incredibly grateful. And just through all of this, I hope that wherever you are, wherever you're watching and listening, that you just keep the faith and know that everything that you need, I know it's so cliche, everything that you need is inside of you, but I know that I know. I don't say it from like, just to be woo woo, but I say it because that's what I know to be true. Nothing is wasted. No tough moment is wasted. No celebration should be wasted or missed. This is dope. There's chaos. It's so hard. There's chaos outside, but like, we're in a lane. We're getting things done. We are making impact. We are making progress in spite of all of it. And so I hope you will join me on the journey. Everything's in the show description. All right. We'll chat again soon. Next best thing, pod on Instagram. I'm not going to put the ending. Subscribe, like, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, send this to whoever needs to hear it. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Have a great, great June. We're halfway through the year. Let's keep going. Chat later.